Coming up on market shares, Apple continues to be the exception to any economic conditions. We'll take a look at just how strong their growth has been.
Plus, Mark Cuban is stepping back from his ownership of the Dallas Mavericks. And Shark Tank, where to next?
And all three major indexes in the green on the week, but we'll go in depth on just how they performed later on in the show. Now hold on to your wallets because market share starts right now.
Welcome to Market Shares on this Friday afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Peter Elliott. That is Bradley Hoppenstein. A bit of a quieter week on Wall Street, but of course we start with a company that is always making news, Bradley.
Absolutely,
Apple.
Peter. Yeah, Apple's market cap closing at around $3 trillion earlier this week. Its shares climbing 2% on Tuesday alone. Now this number, it's a sign of Apple's durability, of course, Peter. The iPhone maker's stock price has risen almost 50% this year. And even as the company reduces its total share count through buybacks, still hitting $3 trillion this week. Yeah,
the company has struggled with slowing growth and problems in markets such as China's, but Apple has also warned that in November it didn't expect revenue growth in its all-important December quarter, which is the first full quarter with iPhone 15 sales. Now, the Labor Department says the U.S. Also having a good month, adding 199,000 jobs in November, with unemployment falling to 3.7% from 3.9%. The labor market seems to be cooling. Economists only expected about 190,000 jobs to be added. The Labor Department is also adjusting its September report to 35,000 fewer jobs.
Yeah, some growth for Apple, some growth in the jobs department, but the bigger picture here is future potential rate hikes from the Fed Reserve to get inflation down to that 2% target they've been talking about for so long. Now, the Fed is expected to hold rates steady again this week, but underwhelming jobs reports or future forecasts that are a bit mixed could mean more increases in the future. Job openings totaling 8.73 million on the month, a decline of about 617,000. That's good news for the Fed. That's good news for President Biden with his Bidenomics play as well.
It is for sure, and especially ahead of an election coming up next year. Always good when the economy is in a better spot, certainly, than it was at the beginning of his tenure. Well, federal regulators are investigating ExxonMobil's $60 billion deal to acquire a Texas oil company in what would be one of the largest mergers in the energy industry in 2 decades.
Yeah, the FTC has asked for additional information from the companies about Exxon's proposed buyout of Pioneer Natural Resources. The investigation comes after Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and 22 other Democrats urged the FTC to investigate the deal.
Schumer said on Tuesday that he asked the FTC to take a hard look at Exxon's blockbuster merger and block it if it would lead to higher prices, hurt competition, or force families to pay more at the pump. He also continued in saying, quote, "I'm glad the FTC is taking this step." Now, Exxon has said the proposed deal would enhance U.S. energy security and benefit the American economy and consumers.
All right, we already hit on one tech company. Let's go to a few others. Meta and IBM are teaming up for, of course, AI. They're launching a coalition of over 50 AI companies and researchers that are pushing a so-called open model AI. Some of the names joining the coalition, just to give you an idea: Intel, Oracle, and Cornell University. Now, the group says pooling all their resources will help them stand behind, quote, open innovation and open science in AI. A lot of analysts think this could lead to a new open source AI that those companies or others could use in different ways for different products.
Funny, you see all those companies and then Cornell University, interesting group in there in the mix there. Well, CVS is changing how it sells prescription drugs. The nation's largest drugstore is debuting a new model that pays pharmacies based on how much they pay for a drug. The company says that the goal is to provide greater transparency for its customers who have complained about high costs for medications. Now, under the current system, pharmacies are paid based on a convoluted system that leads to variations in pricing for medications. Pharmacies might make huge profits on some drugs and break even or lose money on others. The new model will go into effect next year.
All right, Peter, let's go to some retail now. Some sad news earlier in the week for a guy like me, but some better news today. Lululemon shares down to start the week, but now making a comeback down the stretch. They posted earnings earlier this week, and they hit a 52-week high today, nearing $500 a share. But the company releasing its earnings earlier, beating Wall Street's expectations, giving a smaller outlook on Q4, though. Revenue in the range of $2.2 billion this time around. Net income around $250 million. Sales also up 19% from this time a year ago, and you can see the shares sit at $4.90 right now. But Lulu's outlook on sales for the holiday season just under analyst expectations. It's predicting about $3.14 billion in sales, which is just shy of around $3.18 analysts are expecting.
Has the company accounted for your holiday spending as part of its projections?
They haven't. I have a lot of gifts to buy. I might have to hop in and boost their numbers, Peter.
I think you might. I think single-handedly you might take it back up, that stock back up. Well, how about a company that is not doing so well here? Last Wednesday, Spotify's yearly musical recap, Wrapped, was all over the news and your friends' Instagram stories. But just a few days later, the company announcing it's laying off 17% of its global workforce. That amounts to about 1,500 jobs. It comes despite the company reporting a $70 million profit in the third quarter, as well as raised prices for its subscription plans. CEO Daniel Ek said the company just hired too many employees over the last few years when the economy was more favorable. The stock actually rose in the wake of those layoffs, and just today, Spotify announced its chief financial officer would be leaving the company. Paul Vogel, who has been with the audio streaming giant since 2020, cashed in $9.3 million in shares after the announcement.
Incredible numbers there. Let's stay in streaming for a moment. Disney Plus and Hulu are launching the beta version of a combined streaming service. We've been hearing about the potential for this for months. The new hub is called Hulu on Disney Plus. Very original. It combines content from both streaming services in one place. If you already have a Disney Plus and Hulu bundle, a Hulu section will be on your Disney Plus home screen. Now, Disney says this isn't a replacement for the separate Hulu or Disney Plus apps, and Hulu's add-ons that come with the upgraded subscription will still only be available in the standalone Hulu app. With both Disney Plus and Hulu's price going up, the bundled plans are starting to look more affordable for customers. The beta testing began on Wednesday, Peter.
Yeah, Bradley, I think this makes a lot of sense. You have so many streaming apps now, and it's kind of tough to go from app to app, so it makes sense there's a little bit of streamlining happening here, getting it all in one place.
Also, of course, Disney buying out Comcast's remaining 1/3 stake in Hulu, so they're really trying to lump it in with their own content and programming. Makes a lot of sense for the company.
It really does, as we continue to see the streaming war proliferate, and I think we're going to see a lot of consolidation. We're seeing more mergers too as well, and Paramount, they're also offering more bundles, so I think we're seeing so many companies now, and we're going to see some consolidation over the next couple of years. It really, too many streaming services. Well, Panera Bread is reportedly filing to go public again. The chain, known for its soups, sandwiches, and mac and cheese, got a new CEO in May, and apparently it was all part of a plan to prepare for an eventual IPO. Before the IPO, though, some legal troubles for the company. One of its staple products is being blamed for yet another death. Yeah, it's happening again. A second family is blaming Panera's charged lemonade for a death.
Florida resident Dennis Brown drank 3 charged lemonades from Panera in October and went into cardiac arrest on his way home. The lawsuit comes less than 2 months after Panera was hit with a separate lawsuit over an Ivy League student with a heart condition who died in September last year after having the drink. Now, the drink is charged with nearly 400 milligrams of caffeine, but the lawsuits say Panera doesn't do enough to convey the message that this lemonade is actually an energy drink. For reference, the FDA says healthy adults can safely consume 400 milligrams of caffeine a day.
Yeah, not the kind of press you want when you're preparing to go public. Well, we all know business mogul Mark Cuban from Shark Tank and owning the Dallas Mavericks, but he shocked the business world and the sports world at large last week, announcing that he is stepping down from his roles on that popular TV show and selling his majority stake in the NBA team.
But the announcement has shed light on Cuban's past ambitions to possibly run for president.
Yep.
People are saying it could happen again. We have Ben Schiller joining us now with all the latest on this. Ben, is that actually the case? Could this be setting him up for a presidential run?
Well, Bradley, the short answer is no. You should not expect Mark Cuban to run for president in the near future. But like we all hear on market shares, the question many have on their minds is why? Why did Cuban make these personal decisions to step down from Shark Tank and sell his majority stake in the Dallas Mavericks? But let me actually walk you through a timeline of these mysterious announcements. This all took place last week. Specifically, on November 28th is when Cuban announced he'd be leaving the popular show Shark Tank after 15 seasons. Then the next day, on the 29th, Cuban announced he is selling the majority stake of the Dallas Mavericks. That day, he also said that he will not run for president. So we see all these different movements in the timeline of Mark Cuban. But let's actually talk about the reason why he's actually making these money moves himself. So let's actually talk about it. Listen to this. Cuban has notably wanted to build a new casino. He's been talking about that for the last couple of months. This is something that he's been on his mind for the last couple of years. And it's something that he wants to do, especially he wants to build an arena for the new Dallas Mavericks basketball arena. He also wants to fix their current television contract with Bally Sports and the Diamond Sports Group. So taking his name out of the equation could potentially benefit the Mavericks for years to come. Now listen to this possibility. Cuban also says he wants to build a casino in the Dallas area, like I just mentioned before. But Texas seems keen on their own stance and sticking to their own policies, which is simply just anti-gambling. Texas is one of the last states that has restrictions on betting and gambling. But what about this story from this past week? It's actually from this week, excuse me. Mark Cuban has been a huge advocate for bringing down the price of prescription drugs. We just mentioned the over-counter drugs and prescription drugs at CVS. The way those drugs are priced are changing. The company announced this week they are charging the way they sell the drugs in a different way. Many believe this is due to Mark Cuban's initiative. So let's get back to the main point. The first question, like you guys talked about, no, Mark Cuban is not running for president. The Democrat has joked in the past about running for office, especially he is very anti-former President Donald Trump. He is a Democrat himself. But hey, a lot could happen for the 2028 presidential election, guys.
Yeah, Ben, so you brought up Cuban's drug prices initiative. Could you delve more into that? Because it's pretty interesting what he's done over the last year with that new company. How may have that benefited CVS?
Well, this is something he's been talking about, especially since 2018. He's been on the mind of many of people that have been in his base. Mark Cuban, he is someone that wants to be more transparent on the market. We know he's not really involved with drugs and drug prices himself, but he is someone that has been an advocate for helping out the common, especially the lower class and the middle class Americans here in the United States. So especially he's an advocate for helping people out. He wants to be more transparent. So the bringing down the drug prices is something that may be on his mind, and maybe this is possibly a reason why he stepped down from Shark Tank and is selling the Dallas Mavericks. We just don't have the answer to the question right now, guys.
All right, Ben, thank you so much. We'll continue to monitor the whole Mark Cuban situation there. Coming up after the break, all three indexes in the green this week, how'd they do and why, plus some of our top movers. Stay with us.
Dad?
Just 1 minute, okay?
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
Here's your check. Oh, you got it. You know, since I got rid of my car, I really enjoy walking.
Okay. God, no.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates.
Oh, you're home early. You live with your mom?
That'll set your game back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back to Market Shares. About 14 minutes past the hour, let's take a look at how our three major indexes ended the week.
Yeah, Bradley, kind of a quieter week here on Wall Street, but all three indexes, like you mentioned before the break, in the green. So certainly a week that traders, investors, analysts can be happy with. Most of the major indexes, though, they were stagnant on the week. S&P and Dow down 0.1%. The NASDAQ up 0.6%.
Yeah, pretty steady week of gains. You can see nothing too crazy going on there. A few AI-related shares fueling a rise. Google releasing a new AI product this week. And, of course, the jobs numbers that came out today, also positive news for the markets, Peter.
Really positive indeed. Definitely beating expectations. And a lot of analysts saying all of these signs pointing to a softer landing for the economy after we've talked so heavily about all of the inflationary measures that the Fed is taking. So it looks like the economy's on a rebound ahead of next year.
Just going to have to wait to see if they raise rates. Let's get to our movers for the week. We're going to start things off with Hawaiian Airlines, or on the exchange as Hawaiian Holdings. So Alaska Airlines is nearing a deal, or they've actually completed a deal to buy Hawaiian for $1.9 billion. Now, that's a cash deal, but here's the thing, Peter. Subject to a lot of scrutiny from the DOJ. They have not been liking these mergers lately, especially in the airline industry. You take a look at JetBlue and Spirit. That's a deal that could be seen as anti-competitive. This one has a better chance of going through, but look at that spike from Hawaiian earlier in the week, going up about 213% this week. I mean, that's incredible, even though it only sits at about 14 a share. Those are incredible numbers, Peter, but there's a long road ahead until this deal is actually complete. The stock's soaring 193% alone on Monday. Here's the interesting piece, though. Alaska actually taking a tumble on Monday on the news, and that's likely due to analysts in Wall Street not really seeing this realistically, probably thinking the deal won't happen.
I mean, that's the question. We have no idea how Biden's Justice Department is going to respond to this merger here. I mean, we've seen the scrutiny that's been applied to that JetBlue and Spirit merger. But, I mean, executives for both companies are optimistic. They say these two companies overlap on just 12 routes, so between Alaska and Hawaii. So they're saying there's not too much overlap, that there actually is reason for this merger. But there's so much consolidation in the airline industry. The top 4 companies own about 80% of the market. That's what the Justice Department is so concerned about with this merger. I believe it is thought that Hawaiian and Alaskan would become the 5th largest airline in the country.
Also, nearly $2 trillion in cash.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
I know. That's pretty remarkable.
Where are they getting that from?
I know. For Hawaii, for Alaska and Hawaii, flying off the mainland, pretty remarkable. Well, let's move on to our next mover here. Slightly down on the week, it's Take-Two Interactive. You know them as the owners of Rockstar Games, which makes Grand Theft Auto, the wildly popular series that just announced this week, Bradley, that they will be releasing GTA 6 in 2025. But obviously the reason you would think, why is it down on the week? Well, it's because we don't know exactly when it's coming out. The trailer, which has racked up 130 million views in just 3 days on YouTube alone, says that it's coming out in 2025, but we don't have an exact date. That's why analysts are concerned. Yeah,
that trailer actually getting the most views in 24 hours on YouTube, besides some like K-pop music video, I believe, which makes a lot of sense for YouTube. But you're exactly right, Peter. Some analysts across Wall Street, specifically at Bank of America, they're downgrading the stock because they just don't know when it's going to come out. They originally thought around spring 2025. Now people think fall 2025. And this game's been delayed so many times. I mean, you think the trailer and those big numbers would give the stock a boost, but doing the opposite because they were still too vague on when this thing's going to come out.
Still generating a lot of excitement for fans because this game is just so popular and such a cash cow for Take-Two and Rockstar. It's generated north of $8 billion since Grand Theft Auto 5's release in 2013. So even if you have to wait 2 years, you know how profitable this game is going to be for Take-Two. So again, just a slight dip in its stock this week. I think when it comes out, you're going to see it soar once again.
Let's just gotta wonder how much it'll cost when it comes out.
Exactly. That is the question. How many microtransactions will be? We know how much they've done over the years with those. All right, we'll move on to our final mover of the week. Speaking of micro, Bradley, we've got American Micro Devices. What a transition there. That is up on the week, about 8% rather, up $10. Its biggest day since May on Thursday.
Peter, I don't appreciate that segue, but you're exactly right, jumping 10% on Thursday. Biggest day since May, highest close since June, and it really all comes down to AMD. They're launching a new AI chip. Of course, it all comes down to AI, but they're expected to compete with NVIDIA. So AMD projecting about $2 billion in AI GPU sales next year, lower than market expectations of NVIDIA, which is expected to post about $16 billion. But you can see they're trying to take a little chunk out of the AI market and the chip market, and investors seem to like the news. Look at that jump.
It is impressive, giving NVIDIA a run for its money, which is widely seen as a leader in the industry. And how about this? Microsoft and Meta, they've already committed to using AMD's chips, so that's certainly a good sign when you're pushing into this space that has been so thoroughly dominated by NVIDIA. So we'll continue to follow the AI space and everything else. But Bradley, after the break, we've got so much more here on Market Shares. New York City is enacting some new rules to charge drivers entering the city. Stay tuned for more after the break.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb. But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving. The ultimate party foul.
The night is yours.
All right, welcome back. Let's head downstate for a moment here, Peter. New York City's Transportation Authority approving a plan this week that would charge drivers to enter some of Manhattan's busiest areas, the first American city to adapt a plan like this.
But globally, this idea isn't foreign, with London, Stockholm, and Singapore among the cities that already do congestion pricing. Market shares analyst Chile Casadele joins us now. Chile, it isn't just something that'll affect those in the city, but many tourists and visitors, right?
Oh yeah, good afternoon, Peter and Bradley. Just about anyone going to visit Manhattan by car is going to feel the effects of this new program that the MTA is enacting, though we most likely won't see this until next spring at the earliest, possibly midsummer of next year. Why don't we take a look at the parts of New York that this is going to impact? Basically, the MTA is designating everything below 60th Street, that red line right under that banner at the top of your screen, as its Central Business District, or CBD. Everything below that point to the south is part of the new zone that drivers entering will face tolls for. Now, pricing has been one of the most contentious aspects since the plans to implement congestion pricing were brought up. Here's what the city settled on. If you drive a car into the CBD, you'll pay $15. Taxi drivers won't pay a fee, but riders will have a $1.25 tacked on to their ride cost. For rideshare users like Uber and Lyft, that tack on doubles to $2.50 per ride. Smaller trucks like box trucks and moving vans will pay $24, so that could pose problems if you're trying to move to the city for an internship or a new job this summer. Larger trucks will pay $36. Now, those tolls will be in effect from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. each weekday and 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. on weekends. The off-hour rate will be significantly reduced. It'll be about $3.50 for cars, about a 75% reduction. But guess what? You won't be charged more than once per day as well. Drivers will only be dinged for entering the zone, not leaving or staying in it. Other than that, not many breaks for drivers, no pun intended. Drivers paying to go through surrounding tunnels like the Lincoln or the Holland will have discounted rates. $5 for cars, $12 for small trucks, and $20 for large trucks. If you're using other ways like the George Washington Bridge to find your way into the CBD, guess what? No discount for you. In closing, this is going to drastically affect how workers get into town, but also a lot of tourist attractions and notable places as well. As you see on your screen, the Empire State Building, MSG, Times Square, all inside this CBD or Central Business District. If you're trying to Uber to Penn Station or Grand Central to catch a train and you're outside that CBD, it's going to cost.
Chile, let's talk about workers for a second, because this is something a lot of people, that affects a lot of people, but specifically workers. Many workers live in these surrounding areas, northern New Jersey, Connecticut, Westchester County, but this has been drawing some backlash, as I understand?
Oh yeah, it's drawing so much ire. You take a look at Governor Phil Murphy from New Jersey. He's called this out. He says that the MTA is trying to basically take money out from New Jersey commuters, and it's important to mention the fact that when you compare it, when you look at the New York area, you look at Long Island, you look at Connecticut, Westchester County, those are a lot more connected with each other than New Jersey. It's a different system that's running through there with NJ Transit, but at the same time, at the end of the day, there's also the business angle about this as well. Representative Mike Lawler of Rockland County, Representative Josh Gottheimer of New Jersey, North Jersey, Bergen County, all complaining about this, saying that it's going to hurt business owners who rely on a lot of that income coming from commuters.
All right, Chile, thank you so much. That's a situation we are going to have to continue to monitor. Well, Peter, the holidays are approaching. You getting ready?
My favorite time of the year, Bradley.
They're approaching, but this year's are going to look a little different, and they mark an interesting turning point in consumer spending. While shoppers have been pulling back some of their spending in other areas, will the holiday season follow the same trend? That's the question that I went to one of many local stores to find out. Price increases across the board are something everyone feels, but as the holiday season quickly rolls in, shoppers are learning there's no avoiding it. The American Christmas Tree Association says while 78% of consumers are concerned about inflation, 94% say they plan to display at least one Christmas tree in their home this holiday season.
What we find at Christmas time is, you know, when people are cutting back on presents or vacations or whatever, how grand they're doing their holiday, they're still going to get the tree.
Tree prices are up 10% this year, averaging between $80 and $100 a tree. Enter Chuck Hafner's, the iconic family-owned farm and store that grows most of what they sell.
Lots of times it almost feels like we're not as affected by the outside world, if that makes any sense. Not to say that we're special or anything, but we're growing a lot of what we sell here, including our Christmas trees, which means we're not impacted by supply issues.
General Manager Janissa Hart says even with the farm growing its own supply and staying away from the extremely dramatic price hikes, there's no way around everything else costing more.
Cost increases everywhere. Yeah, you know, it costs more to prune them, it costs more to fertilize them. Everything costs more. So that's the greatest challenge. You know, you're going to see a little bump every year. We have to, just like everywhere else.
It seems for families, you can't put a price on Christmas.
We work all year long to pull off Christmas here.
Now, one other note from the ACTA this year, more artificial Christmas trees are sold every year, which I found interesting because a place like Chuck's, they grow all their own stuff. 56% of people surveyed this year say part of the reason they got an artificial tree was to save money. So maybe you're saving money, but you're also still not avoiding, or you're still avoiding not getting a Christmas tree.
Right. Well, that's, I guess CitrusTV is doing, saving money, because that's what we have in our studio. When you come on in, you see an artificial tree. So yeah, maybe that's what more people are going towards.
Personally, I make more of a play for the Hanukkah bush.
Yeah.
But we'll see how this holiday season goes, Peter.
It does.
More market shares on the other side. Stay with us.
They'll test you. Try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
Dad, they took over my bedroom. Come on, come on. Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Welcome back, actually, for one final time this semester, Peter. It's been an absolute pleasure. One of the most fun shows on Citrus TV, but this is it for the semester. A quick shout out to our executive producer, Jake Morrell, who will be stepping aside, going to New York City next semester, but he's the one that actually created this show. And I just remember going through all the pilots and all the kind of test runs we had, and what it's become is truly something incredible.
It really has. And Jake, good luck with all the congestion pricing you'll have to deal with when you get to New York City, right? Always affected by the market here. But yes, it has been such an incredible show. Such a good show, by the way, at our Citrus TV Awards back in April. This show won Best Auxiliary Show. So not only is it so fun to work on, but it really, I think we turn in a great product every week. And that could not be done without everyone involved here. Our executive producers, Jake Morrell, Sean Dempsey, our associate producers, Max Wiseman and Mags Bellotti, news director Brandon Myers, former news director Dylan Brendel, current director of this show, Dylan Brendel as well, and our technical director, Max Gifford. We could not do it without all of you. We are so grateful for all the work you do and for all this year. For Bradley Hoppenstein, Peter Elliott, thank you so much for watching Market Shares.